Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. I have a very special guest, Dennis Silvers, a talk show host of the 19th Hole podcast and Pick Your Politics, otherwise known as Pick Your Nose. In any event, he's got a sense of humor, so I figured I'd throw that out there. I've done that before. There is a sense of humor in the tragedies that are going on today. I hate to say it, and very tragic. The second assassination attempt of Donald Trump occurring on his golf course in Palm Beach, Florida, where I reside, and also the fact that it occurred on a golf course. I mean, we know that Donald Trump loves golf. He's a 2.5 handicapper, a very good golf. He claims to have won the club championship 19 times. Maybe he's embellishing a bit, but we still love him in any event. And of course, he buried his one of his wives, Ivana, on the golf course at Bedminster. So it's obviously something that's important. Fortunately, he's not at the point of being buried on a golf course, God forbid. Thank God he was saved by this attempted assassin. But I'll tell you who has been attempting to assassinate, and that's the PGA Tour. And that's its commissioner, Monahan. They've been trying to assassinate LIV Golf now for the better part of 3 years. And it's becoming very acute. We're going to talk about that with Dennis because he is an expert in the golf industry, knows everybody. He's involved. I've become much more knowledgeable and part of the golf industry myself in many of the things that I do. I represent a professional golfer. I represent other endeavors that are involved in professional golf and and golf just generally for consumers. I brought a class action lawsuit in Palm Beach, Florida on behalf of golf fans and consumers against the PGA Tour and its commissioner, Jay Monahan, against the official golf world ranking, which gives the world ranking points to allow players to be able to play in major tournaments. They've been denied to LIV Golf. It's been a restraint of trade to the players. The LIV players have been defamed by Golf Channel, which is the partner of the PGA Tour. The OWGR doesn't give points because sitting on the board of directors of OWGR conveniently is the commissioner of the PGA Tour, Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the DP World Tour, which is the European Tour, and of course the heads of all major tournaments such as the Masters, PGA Championship, US Open, and the British Open, otherwise known as the Open. So all of these things are very interesting, and there's a dynamic here. And the dynamic is that my lawsuit recently was dismissed by a judge who apparently was attempting to protect Tiger Woods, to be blunt, Luis Delgado. There are very important documents the public should be able to see that I obtained in discovery. He made a precipitous decision. I'm now back in court seeking to have that reversed with this judge. Hopefully he will do that. But it's become clear to me over the last 2.5 years that Tiger Woods is a protected species, okay? Not just turtles, desert tortoises, and people like that, but Tiger Woods is a protected species when it comes to the golf industry. But it will come out, and we will know exactly the full extent of the alleged anti-competitive conduct that's been going on. I can't talk about it now because the documents are confidential under seal, but eventually will come out because in this country, our legal proceedings are not secret. That's what happened in ancient England, and that's one of the reasons we broke away from the king in 1776, to have an open and transparent legal system, not a legal system that's cooked for the rich and powerful. So, Dennis, I just want to get your thoughts, not necessarily on my case, but what's been going on between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf. We'll talk about my case a little bit later, but we now know that because of the fracturing, because of the suspensions that were levied upon independent contractor LIV players when they went to LIV, that they could no longer play on the PGA Tour, couldn't play on the European Tour, couldn't get world ranking points, and other forms of discrimination, including NBC's Golf Channel trashing them as takers of blood money, terrorists, you name it, that basically the PGA Tour and its commissioner Monahan shot themselves in the foot just last week at the Procore Championship. The viewership on Golf Channel, and that's what that was all about, because Golf Channel felt threatened in terms of their monopoly over golf.
Yeah.
Our partners with CBS and ESPN, they only had a viewership of 69,000 people, and that is smaller than the first week of Fox News that was formed over 30 years ago, when it was a fledgling news network, and when I could put advertisements on Fox News on O'Reilly, believe it or not, for $250 for 30 seconds. That's how small the viewership was in the beginning when I was running Judicial Watch, which I founded. So give me your thoughts on what's been going on. And I just put this to talk about as well, is that because, frankly, most of the top players that people actually want to watch that have a personality have gone to LIV. People like Bryson DeChambeau, people like Koepka, people like Bubba Watson, people like Sergio Garcia, etc., including my client Patrick Reed, is that they basically deprive the PGA Tour of interesting players to watch, and they deprive the PGA Tour themselves of top players. So when Scottie Scheffler wins 7 tournaments this year, 5 of them, I believe, on the PGA Tour, he doesn't have the competition that he would have had. And that helps explain his success. Although he is a great player, no one takes that away from him.
Right.
But that record is not really a record, because it's got to have a huge asterisk, about 5 of them, because he did not have the top competition to compete against. And the fans see that, and they're losing interest in the PGA Tour. And of course, it also hurts LIV, because the 2 tours should be able to compete, not just economically, but head-to-head in tournaments. So give me your thoughts on this.
Well, I think I agree with everything you said, Larry, and I think it's coming back and biting them in the butt, so to speak, and they're seeing the results. I give you a good example. My guest on my golf show the other day is the head golf coach in Bradenton, Florida, at the IMG Academy, and he says, I'm not watching as much of the PGA Tour events because my favorite players are not there. They're playing on the LIV Tour. And that should be very evident to the tour that their viewership is down, the attendance is down at these venues, because people are missing the best players in the world that are not there. And if they don't realize that, Larry, they've got a problem. Either they got their head in the sand or they got a problem. And I think they've got a problem. They just don't want to own up to it. And they're doing everything they can to keep them from coming back and playing on the tour, which is absolutely ridiculous. And it's only hurting them. It's only hurting them.
Childish, Dennis.
Yeah.
Now, the latest gambit, it's in the golf media. The golf media, by the way, generally speaking, is almost as dishonest as the political media.
Absolutely right.
Fake news. They have nothing to write about, so they write the same stories 3 or 4 times every day.
Yeah, absolutely right.
False. But the latest gambit by PGA Tour players, apparently on the Player Advisory Committee, of which Tiger Woods is the head, is they're demanding reparations from LIV players that left the PGA Tour to become part of LIV. They want them to disgorge, what they got in signing bonuses, donate it to charities, be punished in other ways, punishing themselves by doing that. And that's what's been holding up these negotiations. Of course, as an antitrust lawyer, I don't think the two can emerge. It would be almost a total monopoly worldwide. It's the antitrust division, if it was doing its job even partially, would block it. But they could find ways to collaborate to actually allow fans to see players compete. And they could both profit by that, keeping separate ownership and separate control. We're coming into 2025. The PGA Tour has announced a schedule already. LIV is doing the same thing. They are going to be proceeding in a parallel fashion. But what's going on right now is frankly petty. And these players are simply jealous that the LIV players, went to LIV and got large signing. This is a free country. Even the fact that we have Kamala Harris now, and and Tim Walz, who are socialists at best, ready to potentially impose a dictatorship on this country in terms of our political ideology. The fact is, we still have a capitalist society, an open society. We promote competition. That's why Freedom Watch brought this case using me as the plaintiff in Palm Beach, Florida, to try to create competition, not to allow there to be a monopolization of the industry and to destroy and to assassinate, in effect, LIV Golf in its inception. So, comments on this?
I was very happy to see that LIV, kind of beat him to the punch as far as the PGA Tour in announcing their schedule earlier than the PGA Tour. And they announced their first 4 or 5 events, and they are going to be opposite some of the more well-known events that the PGA Tour is playing. And I think that was a very good move, and it showed that they're serious about moving forward. They're not going to be intimidated by Monahan or anybody on the players committee or the tour itself. And I think that was a very smart move.
Yeah, by the way, if you could pull your cell phone a little bit away, we're only seeing your nose. Okay, so there you go. Now we got the handsome visage.
Got it. All right.
Dennis Silvers on that. So. Yeah, I got to ask you another question. Why do pro golfers have beards? I know you're saying I'm growing one, but why do they grow beards, these young guys? What do you think?
That's a good question. Either they didn't get an endorsement from from Gillette or a razor company, or they're getting lazy. And why not? They're outdoors all the time, and I think for most of them it's a good look.
Well, but yeah, beards are nice. I'm not knocking them, by the way. I had one during COVID myself. It doesn't grow in with one color. It was like red, white, and blue at the time. But I wonder, you don't play that much because you're a working man, whatever. But if you're out on the course all the time, isn't it kind of hot? And don't like insects get caught in your beard? I mean, basically.
Yeah, it could get that way. You're absolutely right. Yeah. You're
Right.
absolutely correct. And again, that's one of the advantages that the LIV Tour has. Hey, they're playing in shorts. Their style of dress is very, very casual, where that is not condoned by the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it's more informal. I mean, LIV's fun. You've been to an event in Las Vegas this week. In Dallas, Texas is their final event. But they have music, they have entertainment, they have concerts, all kinds of things. Young kids like it, middle-aged, old, we all like it. And it's different, and there's no reason why you shouldn't have alternatives. You can like the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour and go to both. I go to PGA Tour events, and so this is something that really is an issue. And I want to talk about my lawsuit. I want to talk about what that was all about and is about, because it's going to be going forward, regardless of this temporary setback. I filed a case in early June, 2.5 years ago. And again, I was the guinea pig. I was the consumer. I was the Florida consumer. And what I alleged is because of the PGA Tour's attempts to monopolize the golf industry, not allow a new entrant in, LIV Golf, to compete with it. And of course, I included OWGR and the European Tour, DP World Tour, and NBC's Golf Channel with that, because they were all working in concert to remove LIV from the market.
Right.
They're all working together, and it's profitable for them to do it. I allege that because of the restraint of trade, this would allow the PGA Tour to price its product at what's called supra-competitive prices. Higher prices, much higher prices than they could charge if they allowed for the competition. And in addition, when you buy a ticket to a PGA Tour event, you're not getting the benefit of your bargain. You're not being able to see the players that you want to be able to see. So the ticket's really worth a lot less. Plus, jacking up, as alleged, the cost of concessions, whether it was golf hats or food, or whatever, making a lot of money. So I filed this lawsuit as a consumer. The PGA Tour, with these two very big law firms, Sidley and Austin and Skadden Arps, moved to dismiss. We got a judge who at the time I thought was very fair, Luis Delgado, in Palm Beach. He denied their motion to dismiss. It went forward. And the first individuals that I wanted to take a deposition of, get oral testimony, because I knew that he was at the epicenter, had been reported, was Tiger Woods and also Rory McIlroy, Davis Love III as well. And they were showcasing themselves, on PGA Tour radio and Sirius and everything. And
Right.
Liv was being trashed. I was being trashed because I had brought a couple of defamation lawsuits for Patrick Reed in Jacksonville, Florida. I became the evil lawyer on Sirius. I would laugh when I would listen to it going home, from work every day. I was kind of flattered, that I became the Darth Vader of the golf industry. And so the case went on, and the PGA Tour came back and they tried to dismiss again, and they failed again. And then when I sought to depose Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy and Davis Love III, their lawyers, who, not coincidentally, are tied in with the Democrat Party. One of the reasons that Donald Trump sponsors LIV's events at his golf courses now is because the PGA Tour betrayed him too. And he went off, with LIV, and he saw that a need for competition, he believes, to it. They've done a number on him. They've even had him investigated. They disparage him too. Yeah. Anyway, the lawyers for Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, lo and behold, are the same lawyers that represent the woman, E. Jean Carroll, who remembered 40 years later with an epiphany that President Trump had raped her in a dressing room at a New York City department store. Of course, they were fortunate. They got a highly partisan leftist judge and a partisan New York City jury, and she got a big verdict for sexual abuse, alleged sexual abuse, and also for defamation. And this is unbelievable. Trump was convicted simply because he denied that he did it. That was not convicted, but found liable for defamation.
Yeah.
And the other lawyer, the local lawyer, because this law firm is a New York City lawyer, it was called Kaplan, Hecker, and Fink at the time, with an emphasis on the word Fink. Then their local counsel was this guy, David Marcus, who had actually represented Hillary Clinton in a RICO case that Donald Trump had brought against her over the Russian collusion investigation in Florida. So highly partisan. And they went off and they attempted to smear me. They smeared everybody they could, telling them, you can't depose Tiger Woods. Larry Klayman can't depose Tiger Woods. Treating Tiger Woods as if he was higher level than the U.S. president, because they had released a deposition that they took of Donald Trump in that case with E. Jean Carroll. They made it public. But Tiger Woods is special. He can't be looked at all, in terms of what is going on. Same thing for Rory McIlroy. So this case went on for 2.5 years. At every step of the way, the judge found some reason to delay it. And then finally, the tour tries again with its third motion, claiming that because I had to drop the class action for the time being, and that's a complicated discussion, but it's going to rise again. It will rise again, this class action. I did it just to get the case moving, that I didn't exceed the $30,000 jurisdictional threshold in Florida, but I also had counts in the complaint for what are called equitable relief. In other words, to enjoin the PGA Tour, to have it cease and desist from its anti-competitive actions along with the others. And that should have stayed in circuit court. Well, this judge ruled that I didn't have a claim there either, which is totally false. And I gave him authority to that effect the other day, Florida case law authority. I gave him authority with regard to the pricing of tickets. They made false statements to the court that I didn't buy the tickets directly, but indirectly, which would have removed some of the antitrust counts. That's false, because when you go to the PGA Tour website, it takes you right to Ticketmaster, which is the agent. It's a direct purchase. It just gets complicated. So people who want to read about the case, it's really interesting. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. But this is also a testament to our legal system, which I've been fighting for years. I've written several books about how judges are frequently compromised, frequently they're corrupted. This judge, I think, just got scared. I believe that he wants to be a federal judge, and he saw the power of these law firms. And if he allowed for the release of Tiger Woods' information, it would have been a firestorm potentially. Yeah. And so he took an exit stage left, pun intended. And so this is where we are, Dennis. You see it, whether it's in our legal system, when you get a political case such that I would bring at Judicial Watch or Freedom Watch, you see it with regard to President Trump, the lawfare, and now you see it with the PGA Tour, which is an extremely powerful entity, worth billions of dollars at this point, with a commissioner that takes a salary from a nonprofit, believe it or not, of $18 million a year. Who knows what else he's getting, under the table or otherwise. And then he got U.S. senators to back them up and to trash the Saudi government, the Saudi PIF, one of our very best allies, probably in our top 3 allies in the world, who also supplies with oil, with the prince who's being extremely far-sighted and trying to modernize his country. It's even become a tourist location at this point, and breaking down a lot of the barriers of the past, even wanting to make peace with Israel. So this is where we are. And so this little case is a microcosm of what's been going on in the world about big interest trying to crush little interests, whether it's political or whether it's economic or whatever. And it's really destroying professional golf. So your comments on that, I know that was a lot, but I had to get it off my chest.
No, you're absolutely right. And what's interesting, Larry, is you'll find tour players on all of the tours now talking about how they've really got to settle this thing, and everybody's got to get back on the same page for the good of the game. And I totally agree. And why the tour seems to be against this, I have no idea when it's going to benefit them, when it's going to benefit the players, when it's going to benefit everybody. And they need to get it settled. They need to come to some kind of consensus and work something out. And you're right in the middle of this as far as a schedule for the tour events, maybe having both the LIV players and the PGA Tour players involved. You talk to a number of the tour players and they go, I miss these guys. Patrick Reed was a real good friend of mine. I miss teeing it up with him. I miss playing 18 holes with him. He pushed me. He was great to play with. And it just seems they're being stubborn. And I think the tour is starting to feel that a little bit from the players, from the people on the players committee, and I think even from the sponsors, Larry. And it's just gone on too long.
Well, that's what happened. You see, is that the LIV Tour, now financed by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, has reportedly, put in a lot of money. They've lost a lot of money. All of this scared sponsors away. We have reason to believe that the PGA Tour Monahan actually threatened sponsors not to go to LIV, saying you'll never be able to sponsor the PGA Tour or its players if you do that. This is why we needed Discovery. We haven't really had Discovery in 2.5 years. They're not protected species, like I said. They're not presidents of the United States even. They're golfers, okay? And in fact, it was funny during the first hearing with Judge Delgado when I raised the fact that I wanted to take the deposition of Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. He said, well, at one time I played a little golf. I'm really not a golfer. He says, I've heard of Tiger Woods, but who's Rory McIlroy? Right. So we thought we were going to get a fair shake, So, and he created the appearance of a fair shake all the time, slowing this thing down and not letting it become public. So, I mean, Tiger Woods is the king of the PGA Tour with all of his personal issues. He's still the king of the PGA Tour. And, he's protected like he is the king, like he's King George III at this point. But people need to know, and it's to the detriment of the golf industry that they don't know. And golf is a very important sport. It's highly lucrative. It's not just domestically great for our economy, but internationally it's expanding. Hand over fist. It's something that you can play till you're older. Look at Gary Player, won 9 majors. He's still playing golf at 89. And coming close to the shooting par. And, you know, it's really sad. And the young kids aren't getting to see these players.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, that's kind of where we are on all of it. And economic freedom, competition, that's what made our country great economically. Of course, the
Absolutely right.
communists don't believe in that. They want government control. They want to limit it. What's his name? Our presidential candidates, Kamala Harris wants to put price controls on things that destroy capitalism and the such. And that helps explain why the PGA Tour and Monahan and company are so allied with the Democrat Party. They don't want competition, and neither does Kamala Harris or Tim Walz. They don't want competition either.
Yeah.
They want to control.
No, they don't. I think they ought to do two things, Larry. Tiger Woods is never going to be competitive again, okay? Despite people saying, oh, he's going to win another major, he's going to win a tournament. And I've been saying no for years. He's done. Why doesn't he give it up? And why doesn't the tour just hire him outright, as their spokesman? He does, like you say, so much behind the scenes for the tour. Why don't they just bring it out in the open and say, okay, Tiger is now our spokesperson? Because he's working with Monahan and all of the other people, for crying out loud, and get it over with. And they need to come clean on it. And I would really, really hope one day you get to get Monahan under oath in a deposition setting and really try to find out what his motivation is for having the attitude that he does. Commissioner, why are you afraid of the competition? Do you not like the players that went over there? Why are you still holding a grudge?
Yeah, it's not just Monahan. It's now the players. They're taking it out on LIV players because Monahan didn't keep them informed of the initial talks that were again in secret. There's been articles written recently, the Monahan's on thin ice, so he doesn't want to stick his neck out. He could be potentially, fired at any time for what he did. And I got to tell you, this case started because, I watch Golf Channel. I listen to Sirius PGA Tour radio. I want to know what's going on. I want to see what the opposition is saying. I watch CNN, the Communist News Network. I watch MSNBC. I want to know what the left is saying. Okay.
It's thinking, yeah.
Yeah, if it's moving its mouth, it's lying, essentially. But the fact is that many people believe that Monahan is a non-entity right now, and Tiger Woods could play a positive role. And many people believe that he was offended because his legacy he viewed as at risk because his legacy occurred under the PGA Tour, and he didn't want to see another product arise. But then the hypocrisy of the whole thing is that he and Rory McIlroy then start a team golf league in Palm Beach. LIV is team and individual. Okay. Competition in Dallas this week is a team competition. There'll be match play individually by teams and then teams by teams, medal score.
Right.
So they decided they were going to start their own league and compete against LIV in the team competition after they were disparaging LIV, saying team competition will never work.
Right.
Of course it works. The Ryder Cup, President's Cup, Solheim Cup, etc. It works. People are very interested. So they would say anything they could to destroy LIV. And Patrick was the whipping boy early on, being disparaged and defamed. And he had enough, and he brought a case against Brandel Chambly, who's continuing to this day to disparage and defame LIV players and the Saudi Public Investment Fund, and Eamon Lynch, Sean Ryan, who's written books, defaming Patrick, and so it was a full court press. Is that destroy LIV by destroying the players? Okay, destroy LIV by equating them with being takers of blood money. Saudi Arabia owns about a third of this country. It has large ownership in Walt Disney, in Boeing, in Apple, you name it. It is short of Great Britain and Israel our best ally, and as important, particularly given the fact that it has all of that petroleum reserve and is
Yes.
moving into the 21st century rapidly.
Yeah.
I can tell you, when I was in King Abdullah Economic City a year and a half ago, near Jeddah, um, extremely progressive. The prince is very far-sighted. They now have Lucent plants there. They have Hyundai plants.
Oh,
They want Western investment. They're Westernizing. I walked into a Starbucks and I saw Saudi women at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon having coffee, just like people do in the United States.
yeah.
They were wearing burqas. They don't have to wear the masks anymore or anything like that if they don't want to. And and people were extremely nice and friendly. And
Yeah.
so this is an outrage, and we're going to do something about it at Freedom Watch. This is just one example of what we do at Freedom Watch. And go to freedomwatchusa.org. It's not just political and government freedom; it's economic freedom. Because without
Right.
the engine of our economy, we will cease to exist. And of course, we can see the results of that under what's now the Harris regime.
Mm-hmm.
Huge gas prices,
Yeah.
food prices, uh, people running across the border, terrorists, sex traffickers, human traffickers, you name it. We're in line for a new terrorist attack in all likelihood, God forbid, but it probably will happen based upon who's being let into this country. Rampant crime in major cities.
Yeah.
California, you can steal up to $900 and walk out of Best Buy with a TV and no one will say anything. This country has been destroyed in 3.5 years, and there's a parallel in the attempts to destroy LIV Golf and keep it retarded.
And they, people don't understand that the Saudis are good people. The prince has made a definite commitment, and I don't know if you know this, Larry, but I've been told by people well entrenched in the golf industry. Top Golf is having some financial problems, and I understand, or I was told, that the Saudis are looking very closely at Top Golf.
They
And
love sports. Yeah, they love sports, not sports washing.
Absolutely.
The head of the PIFs, Yasser, loves golf, and so the prince plays golf, and they're into soccer, they're into Formula One, they're propping all of these entities up during difficult economic times.
Right.
It's to our advantage. They have high-tech cities that they're building, 1,000-mile cities, Nome, in King Abdullah Economic City, where the LIV tournament was. They have condominiums. You think you were in South Florida, okay? And they're a lot less expensive. Actually, it's more beautiful with the Red Sea there. And they have a modern port there that, exports. They're becoming economically diverse, moving away from sole dependency on oil. And socially, they're, opening up the country. They even have a rabbi there, okay, a Jewish rabbi that is allowed to practice his faith with, Jews that may be there, on work, visas, things like that. They are our first line of defense in the Middle East, along with Israel.
Mm-hmm.
They are an enemy of Iran. Iran wants to take away their oil. Wants to control Mecca, which is the center of Islam, and wants to destroy the royal family. So, everything lines up. And in fact, Saudi Arabia and Israel are about ready to make peace by the admission of the prince himself. And that was the reason why Iran got Hamas to attack Israel. They wanted to throw a monkey wrench into it.
Yeah, and that would be great if that happened. I know Callaway's having some issues, some second thoughts about Top Golf, but if the Saudis got involved, they certainly got more than enough to prop it up. Not saying that they still won't have issues going forward, but it's going to be an interesting thing. To look at.
Well, Dennis, I want to thank you for your insight. We'll have you on again. Please
love it.
Go to watch. Tell people where they can go watch the 19th Hole podcast and pick your politics.
Well, we do the shows live on Facebook. You can find and on YouTube. We're on other platforms like Spotify and Apple app and Google Play. And we hope you tune in. We think we've got a good product. We love having Larry on because we get the inside baseball on what's going on with LIV and other things. And please give my best to Mr. Reed. I love him as a player, and I hope the Aces start playing a little bit better. I know Patrick had a hell of a good tournament last week, and give him our best.
The Aces will not have a bye at the tournament in Dallas, but that doesn't matter. They can still win the team championship. So I hope that everybody will root for them. That's DJ, that's
Absolutely,
Patrick, that's Pat Perez, and I'm having a senior moment right now. Whatever, one of the person. Okay.
All right, and we expect you, talking about LIV, we expect you to be out here in Vegas when they have their made for TV match. And I'm telling you, it's either going to be at Shadow Creek or it's going to be at the Wynn. So we hope you come out for that, because you've got Brooks Koepka coming out, and they're playing against Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy.
I will be there, my good friend. By the
It'll
way,
be a hell of a day.
The 4 team members, Harold Varner, who reminds you of Cuba Gooding in Jerry Maguire's movie.
Yeah.
He's very funny, and
yeah.
I mean, they've got characters. They've got people that are really
characters, and that's what the tour doesn't have now.
Yeah, and Bryson DeChambeau, it's a different age and different method.
Yeah.
But Bryson DeChambeau is the new Arnold Palmer in many ways in terms of his fan appeal. And,
true.
But they all are, every single one of them.
True.
So they
all add something. They all absolutely.
They do. So anyway, go to watch LIV on CW Network, which actually has more viewers than Golf Channel, believe it or not. And you can watch it. It's streamed on the CW app, and also LIV streams it as well. So watch it. You'll see it's a great product.
Yeah.
And deserves to survive. Doesn't deserve to be squeezed out.
No, absolutely. It deserves that. Absolutely. And it will. It will. It's growing in popularity. More and more people are gravitating over to it because the tour is getting stale. The tournaments are getting stale a little bit. And we're going to see what happens.
Okay, brother. You hang in there.
Thank you. Always love it. Thanks, Larry.
We'll stay in touch.
Thank you for having me on.
Okay.
Love it.
4.
Enjoyed it.
Goodbye.